Hello, everyone. Miss Debbie here. Welcome to our evening story time. I hope you had a fabulous day. It's a little breezy this evening. I don't think it's going to rain though. But you might hear the crickets. You might hear the wind chime because it's blowing in the breeze. But that's all lovely evening sounds that make a lullaby for us. Um, how are you? Hello, everybody. How are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, everybody. How are you? How are you today? Well, I'm fine, actually. I went swimming yesterday at a lake in northern New Jersey. It's near Blairstown. It was called Blue Mountain Lake, and it was just so beautiful. It was clean and quiet, and it wasn't too deep. There were lots of kids, well, not too many kids, but there were kids there on their tubes and floaties. And want to go back next week, so look it up. It's a good place to go. It's a long ride though, but up Route 80 and into the mountains. And then stopped at the farmer's market on the way home and bought peaches because I love peaches. I want to make a peach pie. Hope you like peaches. Um, so I'm happy. I'm still thinking about how nice yesterday was to look at the clouds. So, speaking of clouds, clouds bring weather, don't they? And sometimes we have what we call fair weather clouds, big white clouds that puff around, or stormy weather clouds. Gray clouds bring rain. Sometimes there's clouds that have thunder and lightning in them. Um, yeah, clouds are a good predictor of the weather. So, with that in mind, I couldn't wait to read this book, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And you probably know the story already, but I love to hear it over and over again. So you probably have a copy of it in your own home. This is written by Judy Barrett, and the pictures are by Ron Barrett. So the pictures do have a lot going on. So it's the type of book you really need to borrow from the library and take home and just go over the pictures. You'll see something new each time. I've been reading this book for many, many years, and even today when I look at it, I see something new that I hadn't even seen before. And that's brilliant. That's the fun of a book. So we were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was a Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something whizzed through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling. You could see the dog was tripping Grandpa. After we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and one smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. There's the town. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain, it never snowed snow, and it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas. And sometimes the wind blew in big storms of hamburgers. Ooh, yum! Wouldn't that be nice? Just hold out your plate. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. So here is the weather reporter on the television, and she's saying, the weather today is cloudy with a chance of meatballs. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way, they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankfurters, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. And here's a picture of Ralph's Roofless Restaurant. And there's no roof, so they can just hold out their plate for whatever they wanted to eat. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearing, with a wonderful jello sunset in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for people's flower gardens. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. And here you can see the headlines. Spaghetti ties up town. Record-breaking pasta fall causes chaos. They're knee-deep in spaghetti. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli all overcooked and wilted. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Another day there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. Maybe they should eat it off. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomach ache. Wow. Do you eat cream cheese and jelly? I used to. There was an awful salt and pepper wind, accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. That's a little scary. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. So here you can see in this picture a giant pickle crashed through the roof, and here's the meatballs on the other page crashing through the roof. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread, sandwich style, with peanut butter. They took the absolute necessities with them and set sail on their rafts for a new land. So here they're constructing the raft, and here's an example of one of the rafts, and it has its sails made out of a piece of Swiss cheese and a piece of mushroom pizza. But look at the storm that's coming in. Huge submarine sandwiches, and I don't know what these are. Maybe they're more meatballs, but it looks very ominous. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town, which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd that food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs, and no one ever got hit by a hamburger again. And nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened to it. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. So there's the homes they made out of the bread, and Grandpa telling them the story. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. What do you think? There is a bowl of mashed potatoes with a pat of butter. The end. Love that book, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Everybody knows that story. So, have you been to the library to pick up some books? Um, we have a new feature now called window shopping. So, when you go into the lobby, you'll see shelves with books facing out. And if you see a book that you like, um, get on your cell phone and call the people in the library and say, I'm here. I want that book. I want that book. And then give them, read them your library card number, and they'll check it out and bring it out to you. What could be more fun? And adults can do that too. So I did it. It was fun. Drink a lot of water in the summer, by the way. So borrowing books makes me very happy. Uh, because I like to read, I like to look at the pictures, I like to learn more. I really enjoy a good story, don't you? So much fun in a good story. And it makes you happy, right? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know, stomp your feet. You can do this in bed. If you're happy and you know, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! It is summer and we are happy. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp. Hooray! If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, stomp, stomp. Hooray! If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp. Hooray! Now do all three at the exact same time. Okay, so clap your hands, stomp your feet, and shout hooray! That's your little exercise before you go to bed. So, sometimes my mommy takes me over to summer camp to play. Sometimes she's gone a little while, and sometimes she's gone all day. But my mommy comes back, my mommy comes back, my mommy comes back to get me. My mommy comes back, she always comes back, she never would forget me. I love that song, makes me cry. Skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening and underneath the moon. Oh, skidamarinka-dink-a-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Do you see how breezy it is behind me? My hair is blowing in the breeze, but it's good. It's a warm breeze. It's summer. What's not to like? Our next story is Corduroy. You've probably heard of Corduroy by Don Freeman. Another favorite story of all of ours. I never get tired of hearing this, right? If you have a good story, you never get tired of listening or reading the book over and over. Why not? Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then one morning a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost a button to one of his shoulder straps." Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight I'll go and see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator and up he went. Could this be a mountain, he wondered? I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there before his eyes was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. "This must be a palace," Corduroy gasped. "I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." He wandered around, admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. All at once he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button," he cried, and he tried to pick it up, but like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was sewn down tight. He yanked and pulled with both paws until pop, off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled. Bang! Into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. There was a bug on my leg. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. "Now, who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw two fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the saleslady asked. "Oh, no, thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know I've always wanted a home." Isn't that sweet? Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like you the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. The end. Love that, love that, love that. Ah, so what do you do with your friends? You play with them, right? "Oh, little playmate, come out and play with me, and bring your dollies 3. Climb up my apple tree, slide down my rain barrel, slide down my cellar door, and we'll be jolly pals forevermore." Cha-cha-cha. Well, remember, we could make up any words to the songs that we like. The second verse is, "Oh, little playmate, I cannot play with you. My dollies have the flu. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Can't climb up your rain barrel or slide down your cellar door. But we'll still be jolly pals forevermore." Ah, so there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. This book is done by Jane Cabrera. The pictures are wonderful, just big, bright colors. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. I'm sure you've heard that nursery rhyme. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children and animals too. Oh boy, here's all the kids. There's Bertha and Martha, Sky and Bob, Eric, Edith, Esme and Pobe, and John, Jane, Jack and Jill, Kai and Rosa, and Baby Bill. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, and when the children were hungry, she made them a stew with potatoes and coconut and carrots and peas, and she kissed them all lovingly when they said, "More, please." There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, and when the car broke down, they rode a canoe, or maybe you say new. They all held tight, sitting side by side, and she kissed them all lovingly at the end of the ride. See, you can do anything in a story that you want. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, and when the clothes got tatty, she'd mend and make do. What fabulous clothes, such colorful cloth, and she kissed them all lovingly when they showed them off. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, and when the furniture broke, she stuck it with glue, and hammered and nailed and screwed here and there, and she kissed them all lovingly from her wobbly chair. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, and some days were just a big hullabaloo. So much noise, what a messy muddle, but all was made better by a big soft cuddle. Nothing better than cuddling on Mama's lap, right? The end. Skiddamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skiddamarink-a-doo. I know we sang it. I love you, but this story is about so much love. Skiddamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skiddamarink-a-doo. I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening and underneath the moon. Oh, skiddamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skiddamarink-a-doo. I love you. What else do you like? I love spaghetti, so why don't we sing about it? On top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese, I lost my poor meatball when somebody sneezed. It rolled off the table and onto the floor. My poor little meatball rolled out of the door. It rolled in the garden and under a bush. And now my poor meatball is nothing but mush. But the mush was all tasty, as tasty could be. And early next summer, it grew into a tree. The tree was all covered with beautiful moss, and it grew great big meatballs and tomato sauce. So if you eat spaghetti all covered with cheese, hang on to your meatball and don't ever sneeze. What great world! Food and spaghetti can come out of the sky, and spaghetti and meatballs can grow on a tree. We just go to the store and buy it, or maybe you make it. Maybe your mom makes homemade like spaghetti and meatballs. That's a lot of fun. I'll bet you would like to do that sometime. It's even as fun as making cookies or a peach pie. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. The doors on the bus go open and shut, open and shut, open and shut. The doors on the bus go open and shut, all through the town. Be a driver. The driver on the bus says, move on back, move on back, move on back. The driver on the bus says, move on back, all through the town. The people on the bus go side to side, side to side, side to side. The people on the bus go side to side, all through the town. The horn on the bus goes beep, 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 beep. The horn on the bus goes beep, 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 all through the town. The babies on the bus go wow, 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 wow. The babies on the bus go wow, 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 all through the town. The mommies on the bus go shh, 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 shh. The mommies on the bus go shh, 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 all all through the town. Well, our last book tonight is called Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, also by Jane Cabrera. And I laid this in a puddle, got a little wet. So you'll recognize her beautiful, colorful pictures. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Do you get to see the stars at night? Oh, they come out pretty late. It's got to be really dark out, but it's possible. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Sparkle, sparkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Peeking through the silent trees, high above the deep blue seas. Sparkle, sparkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Flicker, flicker, little star, how I wonder what you are. Smiling down on desert dry, lighting up the cold night sky. Flicker, flicker, little star, how I wonder what you are. Shimmer, shimmer, little star, how I wonder what you are. Over zigzag roofs so high, where the mountain meets the sky. Shimmer, shimmer, little star, how I wonder what you are. Glisten, glisten, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the grassy plain, through the warm, wet jungle rain. Glisten, glisten, little star, how I wonder what you are. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, the whole world wonders what you are. Shine your twinkly magic light over all the earth tonight. Twinkle over towns and trees, fields and farms, lakes and seas. Twinkle, twinkle, up above, for me and for the one I love. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And if you happen to see Twinkle in the sky, make a wish. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight. Any good wishes out there? I usually wish for a trip to Disney World. That's a good one. I have some other wishes that I'll just keep tucked into my heart. Now, why don't you make a wish and send it up to Twinkle? Bye, Twinkle. Oh, so now it's time for Lily White's party. And you know what that means. Our Lily White sheets are beckoning us to a party. And Mommy says, go hippity hop to bed. But you say, I'd rather stay up instead. When Mother says must, there's nothing but just go hippity hop to bed. So, there's a few things we do before we go to bed. This is the way we wash our face Wash our face, wash our face. This is the way we wash our face before we go to bed. This is the way we brush our teeth, brush our teeth, brush our teeth. It's hard to brush and sing at the same time. This is the way we brush our teeth before we go to bed. This is the way we comb our hair, comb our hair, comb our hair. This is the way we comb our hair before we go to bed. This is the way we blow a kiss, blow a kiss, blow a kiss. This is the way we blow a kiss before we go to bed. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Come on and sing that with me. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Good night. I'll see you next time. Sweet dreams.